Hello, I'm Farah, a registered clinical nutritionist, and I'm hosting Fertility Matters with Screen Me. Following my own 9 year infertility journey, I'm determined to help others with everything I know now and to share knowledge with women, men, and LGBTQ audiences to offer the best guidance from medical, holistic, complementary, and support organizations. I'll also be encouraging individuals to talk about their journeys to help others. I really want this to be real, useful, and engaging, a platform for you to contribute to. So if you have ideas, have something to say, or know somebody that does, reach out to me at f.condor@screenme.co.uk. Let's feel connected, feel part of a change, feel part of a huge support network. We are here to hold your hand through your own personal journeys, and we hope to see you happy at the other end. Thanks for joining us.
So hi and welcome to UK Health Radio Fertility Matters. I'm Farah Condor and I'm your host. So hopefully we'll have a really good conversation today. We are online with Smirti Kotecha. Smirti has been a yoga teacher for over 10 years and teaches in her own yoga studio. She focuses on women of all ages using appropriate yoga techniques for each type of age group, so not just the common yoga studio techniques. Her classes provide guidance to seniors, teenagers, young women, and all women of all the ages in between. Her type of yoga is called Chikri Yoga, and she trained with a grandmaster called Neil Patel. And she used her skills to transform her life and that of her family, which is crucially important. Interestingly, Smirti confirms that her classes are pretty easygoing. So you're not required to be able to, spread your legs open and do a split, all the way across or an upside down, handstand or anything like that before you actually join her classes. I see you smiling and laughing, Smirti. So, but yes, you don't require strength and flexibility to even start, just the desire to want to get closer to your inner being and heal and grow stronger day by day. And, I've seen pictures of Smirti's clients who have not been able to even, stand on one leg from the seniors side, and then they can stand on one leg for 2 minutes. And that's pretty incredible when you think standing on one leg is really important, right, Smirti?
Yep, absolutely.
The whole ethos is about personal journey. And no matter what your life challenges are, Smirti says that, it's not only about the downward dog, but what you can learn on the way down and then back up again. So Smirti, you've practiced yoga since you were a teenager and then you decided to qualify. So it's an extension of that personal strength that you had and that you gained from your regular practice. So tell me a little bit about what led you to the journey of actually going to Chikri Yoga and starting to learn so that you could teach.
Well, I started practicing yoga in my teenage years when I was dancing. I used to be a Kathak dancer back in my teens, and
that's Indian dancing, right?
Yeah, that's a form of classical Indian dancing,
right?
And so it just helped with the dance form, making sure that I was supple and that I could actually do the dance movements. And then life took over, and although I practiced it occasionally at home, I had a business, and then I became a mother, and so yoga actually was in the background, but not at the forefront.
Were you practicing as you were you've got two boys, as I understand it, all grown up now, obviously.
Yeah, they're men.
Yeah, men, not boys anymore. I remember them. Were you practicing through your pregnancies, and were you practicing through that whole period in your own time and space?
Yes, I was. I was practicing during the first 2 trimesters of my pregnancy. I used to get a lot of backache.
Right.
So some of the yoga postures really helped with that backache, and also just keeping calm, especially with my first pregnancy, not knowing what was going on.
Yes, it could be quite stressful.
It was, yes, it was
overwhelming.
Yes, it was overwhelming, and so yoga just helped with the not so much the physical side, but more on the emotional and the mental side, where it helped me keep calm,
right,
and not worrying about whatever was going to happen. But my the actual yoga that I started to do was when I met Neil Patel. Initially, it wasn't for me. My husband used to get injured quite often playing sports. So I said, let me find you a yoga teacher. And it was like, well, I don't want, somebody in green tights. I don't want to do that. I said, why don't you try it? Because I've done it in the past and it really helped me when I was dancing. So it might help you. So I found Neil. And that's how I was introduced to Neil, by finding him for my husband. And I just love the philosophy that Chikri Yoga was all about. And
so tell me a little bit about that philosophy, because I know we're going to talk about a little bit about other types of yoga, but what's the philosophy of Chikri Yoga, and where does it come from?
Chi actually means your prana, the life force, and Kri is the action. So you're using your inner life force as you're practicing yoga. And it's a hatha-based yoga, so it is quite physical, but you're using your breath a lot when you're practicing any of the asanas, the posture work. So that's basically what Chikri is. It's just a form of yoga practice where you can use your inner strength while you're practicing your physical body.
Right, because a lot of people will turn around and say, well, I don't know what you're talking about, inner strength, and it will sound a bit sort of wishy-washy, and what does that actually mean in practice? So
if we go back to traditional, yoga was really existed as a spiritual practice,
right?
Okay? And it's been around for centuries in India and in the East, but it was only within probably the late 1800s when it started to spread.
Right.
So when I say inner practice and inner yoga, essentially that's what yoga is. Yoga is a practice that you're practicing 4-dimensionally.
Right.
So you've got that's your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual. So yoga works at a much deeper level than just holding your hands up in
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
in a warrior pose. There's a reason why you're in that posture.
Yes, yeah. So and then you have lots of different types of yoga. So some of the ones that I know, well, you mentioned hatha yoga, vinyasa, which I believe is more of like a dance move. Then you've got ashtanga, which is very much, I suppose, like gymnastics.
If I go over them,
could you just do a little kind of summary of what?
Sure. So the hatha yoga. These are like sequenced classes, and you practice these postures with breath. It's you're sort of incorporating traditional classical yoga postures, or asanas as they're called. So hatha is about creating balance in the autonomic nervous system. So you're practicing these postures for strengthening, but you're also creating this relaxation because you're working at that emotional and that mental state with your breath.
Right.
So that's hatha. Then you have, as you mentioned, vinyasa. This vinyasa actually refers to a flow.
Yeah, so it's like dancing.
Yes, there's loads of postures strung into a sequence, and it's more like movement for meditation. You're working at a little bit more of a dynamic way when you're doing vinyasa.
Right.
Same with ashtanga. Ashtanga is synchronized, your postures with breath. And there's a gazing point when you're doing ashtanga, and that gaze is called drishti. So it's again very dynamic, very flowing practice. Very good for strengthening the body.
So sort of athletically.
Yes.
Madonna used to do Ashtanga yoga, and that's when it kind of went, everyone went, oh, I've got to go and do some Ashtanga yoga because Madonna's really fit, right?
Stress reliever.
That was
Very good
her yoga. But yeah.
And then you have Iyengar. And Iyengar you're practicing Iyengar with props. So you have props such as blocks and chairs. And Iyengar focuses a lot on alignment,
right,
and precision. So it could be working on a specific chair. You have a chair to practice, and you hold a posture for a lot longer.
So that's quite good for people who've got injuries and stuff, I would assume.
Very, very good.
For, if you've had a child before and then you're basically, you've got the injuries or you've got the stresses in your body from having birthed or whatever, Iyengar yoga could be quite actually really good for realigning the spine and stuff.
Yes,
right.
Yes, it is.
Right.
And because you're in the posture a little bit longer, you can feel that stretch a lot deeper. And again, it's very relaxing because it's one of those, when you felt this, when you're in this alignment, and sometimes you're in a certain alignment, you think, oh my God, that's quite painful, but it's that nice pain. Because you're stretching.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that feels good.
Oh, I like that.
And then you have yin yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Again, very, very relaxing yin. And this, again, focuses on the stretch and more on the connective tissues.
Right.
And they strengthen out any of your muscles that have built up tension.
So would that be sort of like, when your muscles build up tension, when you're talking about shoulders, you've got the front here, so all your muscles have gone like this.
Yes.
And you're kind of doing this all the time because the tension is accumulating. So what this is doing, the yin yoga is actually, so if your muscles like that, it's
it'll stretch them out.
Right.
Yes. It's very restorative. Yin actually was practiced as a Taoist form of yoga.
Wow. Yeah.
And it incorporates Taoist philosophy with yoga.
Okay.
And yin actually comes from, it's the opposite of yang.
Yes.
Right. So it draws that opposite attention of the yang energy, which is like vinyasa, ashtanga, very flowing, very energetic, whereas yin will give you more of a relaxing, restorative, strengthening, lengthening type of yoga.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So restore again. You can go to some classes which are called restorative yoga, very therapeutic yoga. Again, lots of props being used in yin and restorative yoga as well.
Right. Okay.
There are so many yoga classes that have
Kundalini, which is a really
because
that really works on your root chakras, your
yes.
emotional states, your sexuality, your kind of, and a lot of that has to do with, obviously with women, it's to do with fertility and getting pregnant and the connection with your partner and all of those things. So that's it. Just tell me a little bit about what Kundalini yoga actually targets and what it does.
So Kundalini, it sort of combines invigorating movements with dynamic breath work.
Right.
So and there's also chanting. It builds up vitality, works at that deeper level. It's more of a spiritual practice as well. It has a lot more spiritual, deeper practice than vinyasa or ashtanga or even certain parts of hatha. There's a lot of breath work, and it's where the kundalini is your some people call it it's a spirit, it's an energy, or it's a
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
your soul. It's sort of what happens when you're chanting in Kundalini, or you're doing your breath work in Kundalini, that unravels in the root chakra, and then the energy begins to flow upwards. So if you're practicing it in a good class with a good teacher, a lot of students actually feel this energy rising
from their root
chakra. Yes.
Amazing.
So the root chakras are also you can go to classes where teachers do specifically do chakra work. So to work on those deeper energy centers.
Right. And that's that. Do you think that that's where most of the when you look at it and you think, oh my goodness, is that where most of the female tensions and stresses are kept in the root chakras? Would you find it actually is all up and down the body differently? It depends on the individual.
It does depend on the individual. So chakra work or chakra chanting or chakras, these are just energy centers in the body. Right. There are seven in the body, and it's believed in yogic philosophy that if a chakra is blocked, then it manifests itself in the physical body.
So that's kind of what we're saying, is that it manifests itself. So whatever your body's doing in terms of the fact that it could be holding tension and stress in the muscles, or it could be that it actually reduces the effectiveness of your immune system. So everybody responds to that completely differently. But what it does is it actually causes some physiological change in the body because you're holding that stress somewhere in your body.
Either in your subtle body, not your physical body, in your emotional state or your mental state. It can, if there's, say for example, you're very stressed about either conceiving or you're going through any of these, it could be menstrual. I went through a lot of problems when during my menopause, and they were very similar, right?
Yeah, so interestingly, the same with me. So when I actually started getting into yoga was actually when I was going through my perimenopause. And basically the only thing I do in yoga really is, I do a little bit of restorative and a lot of stretching, but the only thing that I really do is sun salutation, which is 5 minutes, and I do 3 of them every day.
Wonderful.
So I actually start my day releasing any tensions that are squished up in my body overnight, and I actually feel revitalized and helpful. But I know that you actually, your early onset menopause was kind of really a turning point for you with yoga and using that. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I started my menopause in my mid-40s, hereditary. So did my mum, and so did my elder sister. And I was going through symptoms like I had hot flushes, anxiety, even depression, the mood swings, and it was going all over the place, and which very similar to, say, fertility challenges, same symptoms. And as I said, I used to practice, and then it went, and then when I practiced it again, they sort of helped me with, say, reducing stress, going through all this, what I was going through, and the kids running around and going through school, etc.
And husband's house.
House, job. The usual life.
All of that we talk about women, but, whatever's going on in the family affects both sexes. It's not as if it's sort of talking about female health and we're talking about women and menopause and fertility, but actually it impacts on the whole family, doesn't it? So
yes, absolutely, because it was like a domino effect. If I was going through stress, or if I was going through what I was going through, it would how I reacted to the people around me affected them. So my reactions had to change so that I could keep the household as calm as I could, so I could deal with what I was going through.
Right.
So yes, it's it was. These are transferable. When you practice yoga, it's it's transferable to other people around you in a very subtle way. For example, say reducing that stress and anxiety that I was going through. When you do your breath work, so I did a lot of breathing there. There's pranayama where you can do your breath work. That helped to calm me down.
So I remember you teaching me on a menopause workshop you attended with me, where you did a little bit of, we had, I think, 15, 20 women when we did the workshop, and you were doing the
alternate nostril breath. Yes. Yeah, or Anulom Vilom.
I've never forgotten that. And whenever I actually feel a little bit of tension, or I've got too much work on, or something's going on, I've never forgotten that. And I found that really, really powerful. And I think a lot of the women at the workshop found it quite amazing and have continued to use it, Smirti. So a tiny little change that made so much difference to 20 women that were there. And that's just one thing from yoga, and a very tiny little thing from yoga, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't take long. 2 minutes, 3 minutes a day.
Yeah.
At the beginning of your day, or even at the end, or any time you want to do it.
I mean, basically, when I feel stressed, I just stop for 3 minutes and I do my breathing as you taught me, and it's just incredible. The difference in your energy that you have post doing that is quite. Until you've done it, you don't know. So
exactly, yeah. If it's only once you've practiced it, you've done it, and see the difference it makes.
Yes, exactly.
And so you just incorporate it, in your life, in your day.
So practicing yoga obviously helped you through menopause. So just tell me a little bit about how it did. Did it actually have physiological impacts on you? Did you feel different in your body? Did you feel different, your hormones? Because obviously when you are doing things that are calming you, you're reducing the level of cortisol in your body, and it messes with other hormones. Your whole endocrine system is actually really, really kind of imbalanced and, up and down and doing very strange things. So
yes.
Did you feel as if there was a physiological effect, and how did it help you through?
Well, absolutely, because as I mentioned before, it works 4-dimensionally, right? So you're benefiting not only your mind and not only your body, but also your mind. So reducing that stress and anxiety, definitely. Doing the breath work, even doing restorative yoga, doing the stretches, that helped. Yeah. Because it reduced my stress levels. But the other thing it helped me with was increasing my blood flow. That circulation started happening. It wasn't, and these are the struggles that women with fertility struggles, fertility have. If there's these blockages in the body, and yoga helps to increase that blood flow, which is vital to the body, right? And the organs. We always forget the organs when we're practicing yoga. I think that people just associate it with, again, just the bones and the skin and the
physical.
The physical,
the outer physical,
the shell,
yes,
but it actually works on the organs as well. Your blood, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys. Works on all of those. So that blood's carrying all these nutrients. If there's any blockages in the circulation, the nutrients, they don't flow as well. So the nutrients that carries waste, that nutrients to and from any of those vital organs, even your ovaries and your uterus.
Yeah, I mean, it starts right from the gut, from the digestive tract, because basically, if you're eating really good food, you're eating really well and healthy, and supporting your system to actually, have a good pregnancy or go through a good perimenopause or whatever it is that you're doing, not have so much acne when you're a teenager. You're doing all that, but if you're not absorbing those nutrients and there's no blood flow and your body is not hydrated, then basically eating or not eating, if you're not absorbing those nutrients and you don't have that blood flow, then that compromises the effect, doesn't it, really?
Yes, it does. So practicing yoga really helped with when I was going through the menopause, just helping that circulation to continue.
Right.
So that was, and what that in turn does, it starts to balance out your hormone levels.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because you're calmer, cortisol drops, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, unless you've got some pre-existing condition like PCOS or endometriosis.
Exactly.
But even then, I think that yoga does have an impact on those kind of conditions, because there are
absolutely, because if estrogen is too low or too high, and say testosterone is not in that right proportion, this can lead to all these health related issues, right?
Yeah.
So like the hormone, like you mentioned, PCOS, that's there's an imbalance of hormones there.
Yeah.
That can lead to. So yoga can regulate hormones, and it alleviates any imbalances in the system.
Okay, so, and then, I think that's brilliant, because if it's stimulating the endocrine system, which is basically all your hormones are called.
Absolutely.
Then
yeah. It controls, doesn't it? It controls and releases vital hormones in the body.
Yeah. So, before I go, I'm going to talk a little bit about the poses for fertility, but what a lot of people that we work with will say, well, sorry, but what's the evidence around that? So, I can go to my private medical healthcare and I can say I want acupuncture because there's evidence that proves that acupuncture actually works. So how, what is the evidence around the fact that yoga, other than studies, and you're looking at a yoga teacher and you're seeing the improvement in your students week on week, and how they've come to you very weak, and then 12 weeks later they're really strong and they don't remember where they were. What is that? What is the evidence behind it? It's an ancient art.
I always say, people say, oh, yoga, and I'm not flexible enough, or I'm not this, or I have this. And yoga isn't an exercise, it's a science.
Yeah.
It's scientifically based, from centuries ago, written in the Vedas. And but yes, I see evidence every day in my students. I can see the improvement, I can see what's happening, and the feedback I get from not only practitioners, but teachers, students, that this is, I can see how much I'm improving. So there's evidence there. And there is evidence to back up like a positive link between yoga, menopause, yoga, and fertility. There are plenty of studies being done and have been done. And if you Google it, you'll see there are pages and pages and pages and pages of it.
Yeah, sure.
There was a recent research by Dr. Alice Doma, the Mind Body Institute at Harvard Medical School. She's done so many, and they looked at a group of women who had been unsuccessfully trying to get pregnant for, say, a year. And those who practiced mind-body techniques, they achieved pregnancies at a rate of almost 3 times greater than those who did it. Than those who didn't.
I need the link for that one.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link. If you go onto the Mind Body Institute, you'll see the studies there.
That's statistic for anyone who's trying to conceive currently and is unable to. Obviously there are the physiological parts, so my work with Screen Me, who help women who have been trying to conceive for quite a while. Some of the stuff that we do is we don't just look at testing. So we do testing hormones, and we do vaginal microbiome testing, and all those things really, really play into. So the physiological side of it, but we also look at lifestyle and we look at nutrition. So when you're putting all of those things together and you're saying, well, actually an exercise is part of lifestyle, sleep is part of lifestyle, and then to know that there's a real study with the mind, body, brain, gut connections and all of those types of connections, you kind of sit back and you go, people have to listen, because this is facts now. It's not, and also it's kind of playing back into the ancient arts of what health was like before you got given a tablet.
Exactly. So it's yoga is a scientifically based practice, which is totally holistic, that can improve not only your physical body and benefit your physical body, but it's working at a deeper level. So if you don't look at the issues that are the underlying problem, or it could be an underlying issue, your emotional state, your mental state, your subtle body, and which is going to manifest itself in this physical body which encases it, then you can't work from you're trying to work from a problem that you can see, but you need to look at the problems that are a lot underneath. So yoga is a natural way
of trying to address.
Yes.
Just, we've got about 10 minutes left. So I just wanted to find out what you think in terms of fertility. What are the best poses then? Or are there particularly good poses for menopause or particularly good poses for fertility? As in, do you have, I know that the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart are kind of, but then I don't know whether
the lower chakras, yes.
The lower ones, but I don't know whether the third eye might have something real impact.
Oh, yeah, but yes,
any
it does.
generational trauma or anything like that you haven't actually addressed or dealt with. So
so you're working at a chakra level, this energy level, all these chakras you just mentioned. When you're doing certain poses, you don't just work on one chakra, you're working on several. Okay, so there are certain postures that yoga is completely safe for. So yoga can be completely safe for a woman who's going through any fertility challenges. That's the main thing you've got. It's a safe practice.
Yes,
right? But the key is to start slow. Don't go on into it gung ho and go into a vinyasa class and go into it slowly. So resist going to a class that you'll come out of and thinking, oh my God, what the hell was that? what was that? The leg is over here and the arm is over here. No, so go at it very slowly and just remember the yoga postures, the yoga styles of yoga. Go for the ones that tend to be more gentle, the hatha and the ayanga, the yin, the restorative, unless you've done yoga before and you've been to vinyasa classes and you can do all the flows and hot yoga. Hot yoga, try to stay away from hot yoga. I just think the environment is probably not the right place to be in when you're doing hot yoga. But hatha, ayanga, yin, restorative, you can do practice postures like forward bends like Janu Sirsasana, which is a head to knee forward bend. Right. Just sitting down and touching your toes, which is that's actually a posture, seated forward bend. Right. They help to vitalize the ovaries and the uterus. So the key organs responsible for conception, basically. So it helps, and physically it helps your hamstrings, your lower back, your hips, that sort of thing. Then you've got any reclining poses where you lie down. So you can lie down and do like a reclined bound angle pose, where you just lie down and put your soles of the feet together. Yeah, get a nice cushion behind you, put your soles of the feet together, put your arms wide, just relax into that, because that will work your inner thighs, your groin area. It helps to release and relieve any stress. Any menstrual I used to do this a lot when I had period pains as well, where it helps to relieve any crampness in the lower part of the body, works the lower chakras. Were really good. And then working on your spine as well, like there's a bridge pose. Bridge pose, people have been, you see in Pilates classes, and the bridge pose is a pose that's been centuries old, but it's reworked into different physical exercises.
Absolutely, it's like the plank. It's called the plank, but actually it's called, is it Manipur?
Manipura.
The
But
plank.
no, the Manipur is your. But yes, it's
It
like the
kind of
Sphinx.
looks like the plank. And
Well,
now
it's
they call it the plank.
yeah, it's the raised Sphinx. It's a Sphinx pose,
Raised
but it's a
Sphinx.
variation of a Sphinx pose. But yeah, any bridge poses really helps that pelvic region to open up and expand. You know, that it stimulates also. You're working from the high chakra here, the throat chakra, all the way down to the root chakra. So it helps to stimulate the thyroid gland, where all the hormones are being in the gland area. It increases the flow of blood, and it also treats any symptoms like anxiety and stress, fatigue. So it has that deeper.
I mean, you know, that's the thing. It's the assistance, the help, the additional things that you're doing, you know, that will altogether brought together. You know, you can make food changes, you can focus on sleeping, you can but these things like yoga that people think it's you know, it's not proven, there's no evidence about it. You just proved that there's quite a lot of studies, and as an ancient art form,
it's a very ancient science.
And it's a science, you know, it's an art form, but it's also a science, and people who do practice yoga seem to be very strong. Their bones are strong because, you know, there's the physiological impacts of it are numerous. You know, you get bone production, so, you know, resistance against your own body weight and all of that sort of thing. So, you know, we could really go into detail about the physiological, but the spiritual, the emotional, all of that blood flow is just, it just adds a different, tool to your armory of things that you can do when you're either going through a really terrible perimenopause or menopause, or whether you're going through really, really terrible, you know, issues with fertility. We've got about 4 minutes left, Smirti. Just as a summary, what would you say, you know, if somebody was listening to the show today, what would you say? This is the first step, just the baby step. What does that look like? What is the
don't be daunted by all these yoga classes outside and which one shall I do. Yoga is good for everyone, no matter what shape you are, what size you are. It's for everybody. Find a class, find a teacher where you feel comfortable. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, you especially when there's a large class and it's a very fast-paced class, or just ask the teacher. This is what I'm, you know, it's a safe space. So find a safe space. Don't be frightened of yoga. It's just an additional helpful tool that you can use in your life, in whatever stage you're at. Keep calm. That's the main thing.
Keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and do yoga, basically.
And breathe.
Yes. I think people forget to breathe during the day, and that's one of the things that I always say to people. Just take a moment and just take a breath. And
breath work, pranayama. Pranayama, just breathe.
Just into your solar plexus, right? And
it really helps reduce, because it works at that parasympathetic level.
Well, I mean, it has a physiological impact. There's no doubt about it. Going into your solar plexus and, you know, intaking of oxygen and all of those things. Yes, it does work. Exactly.
Yes, it does.
Smirti, there's so much more that we could talk about. Perhaps you could come back on again and talk a little bit more about, you know, some of the other aspects of yoga and other
there are loads of other postures you could do. Just go and find a good a yoga teacher you feel comfortable with, and a class that will help.
And I mean, now you can do it online. You do online yoga classes, so it doesn't really matter if somebody can make it to your place or not make it to your place.
No,
you just stick your computer on and say, right, Smirti, let's go. Here's our hour of yoga. Then
absolutely. I teach online as well. So it's find a teacher, and keep calm and breathe.
and just take a step forward. Just take a chance, step forward and see where it goes. Take it one step at a time. Smirti, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I can't say enough.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm really pleased that you agreed to come, and we'll talk again. Obviously, let's see if we can, you know, maybe talk a little bit more about specific maybe in the new year, specific fertility or specific menopausal poses. And actually talk about the physiology of it and what it's doing to the body and stuff, because I think that might be interesting for people who already practice yoga and haven't asked the questions, but also those who might want to be starting and thinking, yeah, I really just want to know a little bit more about it.
Sure, I'd like to. That's fine. Thank you.
Well, I will speak to you soon. You have a good rest of the day and take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Welcome to Fertility Matters with Golnish and Lucas on the UK Health Radio. Here we discuss all things fertility, from cutting-edge science to medical interventions and traditional holistic medicine, from preconception to pregnancy and beyond. Let's start our fertility journey on the world #1 Talk Health Radio.